National Electrical Code, often referred to as the NEC, mandates specific requirements for hardwired range hoods concerning disconnect switches. These regulations are in place to ensure safety during maintenance and servicing. A hardwired range hood, unlike a plug-in appliance, is directly connected to the electrical system. Therefore, it necessitates a dedicated means of disconnection. The primary requirement is that a readily accessible disconnect switch must be located within sight of the range hood. Readily accessible signifies that the switch is easily reachable without requiring tools to gain access, removing obstacles, or climbing over obstructions. The within sight aspect means that the disconnect switch is visible from the location of the range hood. This proximity is crucial because it allows the person working on the range hood to quickly energize the appliance in case of an emergency or during routine maintenance. The disconnect switch serves as a local point of control, allowing the range hood to be completely isolated from the electrical supply. This prevents accidental energization while someone is performing repairs or cleaning. Without such a disconnect, a worker would have to rely on turning off the breaker at the electrical panel, which may be located in a different part of the building. This increases the risk of someone inadvertently turning the breaker back on while work is in progress. In situations where a readily accessible disconnect switch within sight of the range hood is not feasible, an alternative solution is permitted by the NEC. This involves using a lockable disconnect switch on the breaker that supplies power to the range hood. A lockable disconnect switch is a circuit breaker equipped with a mechanism that allows it to be locked in the off position. This prevents the breaker from being turned back on while someone is working on the range hood. The person performing the work typically places a lock on the breaker, and they retain the key, ensuring that only it can restore power to the circuit. The use of a lockable disconnect switch provides a similar level of safety as a local disconnect switch, even though it is located at the electrical panel. The NEC specifies that the lockable disconnect switch must be capable of being locked in the open position, effectively preventing the range hood from being energized. This lock must be substantial enough to prevent accidental or unauthorized operation. Installing a disconnect switch, whether readily accessible and within sight or lockable at the breaker, is a critical safety measure for hardwired range hoods. It provides a reliable means of de-energizing the appliance, protecting individuals from electrical shock or other hazards. Moreover, it simplifies maintenance and repairs, allowing work to be performed safely and efficiently. When planning the installation of a hardwired range hood, it is essential to carefully consider the location of the disconnect switch. The placement should comply with the NEC requirements and be convenient for future maintenance. Consulting with a qualified electrician is highly recommended to ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and standards. The electrician can assess the specific circumstances of the installation and recommend the most appropriate type and location of the disconnect switch. In summary, the NEC mandates a readily accessible disconnect switch within sight of a hardwired range hood or a lockable disconnect switch at the breaker to ensure safety during maintenance and servicing. This requirement is crucial for preventing electrical hazards and facilitating safe and efficient repairs.